Part 25J, oxygen equals fire and water on the flat Earth. The best way to predict the future is to create it. Abraham Lincoln. If you create the weather, then it is easy to predict the weather. However, when something else starts to create the natural weather, like the plasma, then the weather becomes unpredictable. For decades now, the controllers have made the evil culprit out to be CO2, carbon dioxide, calling it a greenhouse gas and causing climate change. CO2, or carbon dioxide, is not a greenhouse gas, and it is not causing climate change. The controllers can't ever tell the truth, but they do indirectly tell you what is going on. CO2 leads to increased plant life, which is the real enemy because it creates fuel and oxygen for the conflagration fires. Oxygen is what the controllers are trying to control and limit. Every fire needs these three ingredients: fuel, oxygen, and heat or spark. By demonizing CO2, the controllers can still implement their plan of reducing plant life, or fuel, and oxygen levels in the atmosphere leading up to the conflagration fires. Because the heat or spark will be provided by the plasma and the sun to ignite the fuel and oxygen. Oxygen creates a twofold problem for the controllers to manage and the population to contend with. The first and main problem is water. So more plant life releasing oxygen into the atmosphere, then there is more oxygen to bond with hydrogen. When the plasma starts its arcing in the atmosphere, it produces its natural byproduct of water, the natural way for precipitation to form on our plane, which means more torrential rains, more hail and greater sizes of hail, which means more flash floods, more floods and standing waters that will rise, and more fields that can't be planted and destroy any remaining crops that were planted. Remember, just because our genetically modified crops can't deal with those conditions and amount of water does not mean other natural vegetation can't. There are all kinds of natural seeds everywhere and plenty of hardy weeds and aquatic plants that will thrive. The second problem with too much oxygen is on the conflagration fire side. More vegetation or plant life means more fuel for the conflagration fires, along with the hotter focal point. Will quickly dry out the plant life and make it highly combustible. And now all you need is the spark, which the plasma provides so efficiently around the plane. And now you have all the key ingredients for the conflagration fires. Let me show you what increased oxygen will do to a fire.
We are breathing. Now let's see what happens to the cigarette and how it burns when we introduce medical grade oxygen. Notice that the cigarette is burning much more quickly. It's burning much faster and hotter than it was on room air that we breathe. You may have noticed a white hot flame that indicates a flame temperature measured in thousands of degrees Fahrenheit. Notice that the article of clothing does not catch on fire very quickly. Please notice how much more rapidly the patient's skin as well as clothing would catch on fire with oxygen used while smoking with oxygen in place. The covering of the pipe cleaner will be his clothing. Let's see what happens when an ember is introduced from one of his cigarettes. The fire was very impressive. However, the fire you just saw was far hotter than a normal oxygen fire. Oxygen-enriched fires burn between 1,500 and 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, or even more depending on the materials involved. This much heat will cause serious injuries.
Did you catch that note? Oxygen fires burn at 1,500 to 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Oxygen, what the controllers really fear, and for a very good reason. Fire and water. Next video, part 25K, electromagnetism and fire on the flat earth.